What world?
So I'll just tell you the story about how organo gold and how this thing. First of all, Ganoderma is an ancient herb from China, and it's a national treasure. Just like in the U.S., it would be the bald eagle is the national treasure, right? Well, in China, their national treasure, it's a natural treasure too, is Ganoderma lucidum. It was reserved for the emperors, and the emperors would pay more for an ounce of Ganoderma than they would for an ounce of gold. That's how pure this is. It was the miraculous king of herbs. It's the herb of longevity. So it's very, very powerful. About 20 years ago, it was the Chinese government said, this is our treasure, so they wanted to put together a project to develop the purest form of organic Ganoderma available on the planet. And so what they did is they started harvesting on logs, just like nature intended, log harvested. There are other companies out there that we just talked about that are doing it in plastic bags. That's plastic bag Ganoderma. It's not as potent as log harvested natural Ganoderma. So they do this project. This 20 years ago, we're back 20 years. 10 years into the project, they privatized the farm. Okay, they did all the research, they privatized the farm. The managing director of that project, that was his baby. Right? He was there from the very beginning and he grew it. And so the Chinese government's going to privatize. He's working for the government. He says, I want to buy it. It's my baby. Right? So he partners up with Dr. Li. Okay. So Mr. Li and Dr. Li, no relation. One's an investor doctor, and the other person's the scientist and the grower of the herb. And they get together, and for the last 10 years or so, they've been running the whole farm. So what happens is the Ganoderma takes a year to cycle. In plastic bag, you can do it in 3 months, but it's not the same. It takes it's one cycle per year of the Ganoderma. But when you're harvesting it on logs, there's this, I'm talking about the spores and why it's so amazing what we've got. What happens is that there's this pollen that emanates from the herb. It's like a baby powder that lands on top of the mushroom. Some of it lands beside the logs on the ground. It's useless when it does that. But what's on the top of the mushroom, they collect it by hand, not by machine, it's by brush, and they collect the spore powder. A spore is about the thickness of a human hair, and it's a natural phenomenon. Right? This is not some chemist making stuff up. This is natural. This is nature happening. The spore, look, and just think of baby powder on top of the herb. And so they collect it. 1,000 kilograms of collection will make 1 kilogram of spore powder. Okay? It's about the thickness of a human hair, and what the Chinese government discovered is that if you just take the spores, your cell in your body, it won't absorb because there's a shell around the spore. And so it's so fine that they got to figure out how are we going to crack that shell. So they spend millions and millions of dollars over 6 years of research to figure out how do we crack the shell, and they did it. So they cracked the shell to discover that there's a secondary shell around that spore. So they got to crack another shell, millions of dollars, and they got the two cracked, and they get to the fruiting body. That's why we call it rocket fuel. This is rocket fuel. That's going into our product line. So now they've got the fruiting bodies. The government of China, the U.S. is big. There's 330 million people or something like that. You got to think. And in China, man, there's 1 billion more people there. Also, it's one of the oldest civilizations known to man. It's over 4,000 years of civilization. So these guys, in terms of nature, they've got some pretty phenomenal stuff going on. But what they did is they authorized 4 companies in China, just 4, to conduct this research to how do we crack the shell and how do we do all this stuff. Then they developed technology, and we're the only ones that have it, and these are our partners, to determine what percentage of those shells are cracked. See, because if the shell's not cracked, it's not going to go into your cell, and it's like it'll go right through you.
Right.
If the shell is cracked, the fruiting body will go right into your cell, and it's like pure nature going right into your cell. That's why we call it rocket fuel. All right. So when we went down to China, because we brought their 50 top producers, all expenses paid for 10 days to come and see. And they looked through the glass and they saw the whole thing and they went through that. And
you keep it.
Check. Sure. The box for that?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll just finish this one because then you'll know a little bit more. So there's 4 companies in all of China that are authorized to do this research. This is by the government. This is not by some rinky-dink company just starting off and trying to grow stuff in their backyard. And this is their treasure. And so they're very careful and they protect that. Of the 4 companies, the company that we are partnered with, that's not a supplier, we are partners, is the only company that's allowed to take it to the market. The other 3 can only do the research. They can't bring it to market.
Benefit of partnering with it as opposed to
A supplier?
Yeah.
A supplier can
sell it to everyone.
can sell to Jay.
Gotcha.
And he tried, by the way.
Really?
Oops, that's recording. No, he called her. She called. He did. But a partner's a partner, right? So there are partners now. When the
we have
Chinese,
exclusive rights to this.
yes, no other network marketing company will do this. Now they have independent retailers in China and stuff like that, but no, we're partners.
Right.
They have a vested interest in our success, and we have a vested interest in theirs. And now the Chinese government says this company here has a real international relationship with a marketing company that's going to take them global. So when we went down to China, this is what freaked us out. They announced, we were police escorted everywhere. They stopped, they blocked the streets off. The police were saluting the bus everywhere we went. It was crazy, and you see it in the pictures, and I'll show it tonight. You'll see it tonight. And in the DVD, did you see the movie of the company yet?
Yeah.
Okay, you see that? Well, you saw when the bus stops, and they are now building a $240 million facility. It'll be the largest facility of its kind in the world for the manufacturing, not the harvesting. The harvesting is done up in the Virgin Mountains, about 45 minutes from there, and they bring it down, and then they're going to manufacture. Organo Gold has its own building. Our coffee mixers and our other partners that put the stuff together in the beverages, they have their own building. They'll have a museum there about Ganoderma. It's a big deal for the county, and it's a big deal for the country. And now when we see that, we have a big responsibility. I mean, this is very, very few people.
Thanks for coming in, guys. We'll see you soon, okay?
Understand the magnitude of what we've got here, but sometimes, when we get into the stories, and like tonight, I'll talk a little bit about it, and then the new person. That's why the new person's not walking away, saying, "I don't think this is going to work." They're going like, "This is friggin' big. It's a big deal. It's more than coffee. We're not even a coffee company.
Right.
We're the purest form of organic Ganoderma available on the planet. And there's not. Oh yeah. So anyway, they have a testing. They've developed a testing mechanism to determine of the spore. Okay, that's rocket fuel. What percentage of it is cracked? What percentage of it is cracked? And the closest that they've seen. So every company that says we got spores, give us your bottles, because there's no other company in the world that can test. They can smash the shells. That's not the same thing. But even if they smash them, they can't test. So they're selling the spores for up to $500 a bottle because it's worth it. But they're all smashed or whatever, right? So they come on, bring them down because we can test. And the highest that they've seen, 15% cracked shell rate in the world.
Okay.
Ours, 99.9% cracked shell rate because we can test. And so that's what's in the new coffee. That pure rocket fuel.
Yeah. King of Coffee going to eventually phase out the black?
No, never.
Okay.
Never, because it's like a champagne, right? It's like double the price. Everybody tonight that comes in, they're going to get a sample. We're going to give them a sample. So when they register, we'll give them a sample. One. Even if they don't drink it, they give it to somebody that drinks coffee, man, they'll tell you like right away.
I got to get me a couple for that. I got some people I want to get into.
Yeah.
That are like avid, my coffee.
They'll love it, man. I haven't had anybody. I haven't had a lot of people say that they didn't like the taste or they didn't like the way it makes them feel.
I just need to see them.
We'll get you going.
I need to.
We're going to do conference calls.